welcome to another Huddle Breakdown Extra Time. I'm your host Martin Murphy, and joined as ever by James and by Alan. How are you guys?
Doing very well.
Just about pulling it together,
Yeah, absolutely. We've got an awful lot to discuss tonight. We're really going to be obviously looking at the Champions League match in Munich in some depth. We'll also be considering the campaign as a whole. We'll be looking at where we're at domestically going ahead, and also looking at the upcoming match at the weekend against Hibs. So just before we get into that, Alan, I wondered if you had anything you'd like to mention for our subscribers. It's maybe extras that are coming up.
Oh yeah, so so we're recording like Thursday evening, so just sent out the stat pack for the Bayern game, which therefore hopefully most of you will already have. So it's a good companion piece for this, really. And as I say, a lot of people in the comments sort of saying, "Oh, what does this mean?" and what's important and so forth. So this pod really is trying to bring a lot of what's in there to life, and I kind of reference bits of it as I go along. So as I say, have it open on your desktop as you listen to us. I'm sure to get that fully immersive, multimedia experience. Also, tomorrow morning, I mean Friday morning, I'll be doing a piece with Liam Bryce of the Hibs Observer. To talk about the upcoming game at the weekend. Obviously, Hibs in great form, unbeaten in 10 league matches. So we'll be hearing all about their season so far under David Gray, what's changed, what's not changed, what they're doing well, and all that good stuff. So that'll be out sometime, I guess, on Friday. So I think this will come out before that. So please look out for that one. So yeah, that's probably enough to keep us going with, unless I've forgotten anything, James.
No, I think that's it.
I think the only thing you didn't mention there, Alan, was the sheer amount of poetry that we feature in in these extra time shows, So a variety, stay tuned, listen in, folks. You could be in for a treat tonight. So just to start, of course, with the game in Munich, obviously Celtic now eliminated from the Champions League. One of these, best of times, worst of times scenarios. From my point of view, I thought an absolutely terrific performance, among the best that I've seen Celtic play away in Europe, and certainly against that calibre of opposition. But of course, that heartbreaking end just right at the last gasp. But it always seems much worse in that respect. I think if I could maybe come to you first of all, James. Been very impressed actually with the way Brendan Rodgers put the team out and managed to get a performance like that. Was there anything in particular that you noticed in terms of tweaks that he'd made, maybe from compared to earlier in the campaign, or even from the first leg in Glasgow, to going toe-to-toe really in a lot of respects with Bayern?
Yeah, I didn't think tactical tweaks didn't seem to be material. I think the change in personnel seemed to manifest. Obviously, Maeda through the middle, so he was on top with Hatate as kind of the pressing two, the top of the 4-4-2, and then Schlupp as the left back. Just seemed to provide more physicality, shall we say, more athleticism in the 1v1 matchups against Olise. So I think those were material changes that did manifest. I just thought we were incredibly well organized, and I rewatched the game partly yesterday and then the rest of it today. I was kind of going through it slow, rewinding and doing all that, nerd stuff. And just incredibly well organized, the coordinated movement, relatively all these things I always say, relatively narrow, relatively compact, some just tremendous individual performances. Our error rate was very, very low. We didn't have a lot of brain fart episodes, which is always good. And a guy, I thought I'll get it out of the way right away. My man of the match, particularly after rewatching it, was Alistair Johnston. He was just, his defending at key moments was game determinant, I would say. I mean, he had so many instances where he, on 1v1 situations, or coming across to block the header, which was basically like a free header from was it Nagby? But obviously one of the Bayern players at the back post. So he was just, it was one of those performances where it was almost all good and nothing bad. So it was one of those games where everything seemed to kind of, tilt towards the positive. And so I'll get into my usual a-hole context, as we'll try to say, as far as the takes two to tango and kind of the Bayern side of this. I've dug in quite a bit, and I'll get to that. But it's important to start with the stuff that we can control, and I thought those aspects were about as good as they can be, including an excellent performance by Schmeichel, which at this level we have to have, and we're not going to compete at this level without a keeper that can do what he did. So hugely important there. And just from a personal perspective, it was obviously the outcome was very disappointing, but what a joy to have that kind of fan experience through a game in those conditions at that level, and to have the outcome legitimately in doubt the way that it was until the very end. I mean, it was just to have our club participate at that level and to have that kind of jeopardy for a team like Bayern. I mean, that's what we've all been craving for. So to experience it, obviously it would have been better had the outcome been different, but to take them as late as we did, and to kind of enjoy that stomach turning jeopardy was, to me, it's what it's all about as a supporter at the highest level. So, that was kind of my initial positivity before I turned into Mr. A-hole as usual.
So before we get to that, and just before I come to you, Alan, you're putting that into context. I think Bayern have lost, was it one home match in Champions League in the last 6 years? They won all 4 games this year, prior to the draw against us in the Champions League. 4 years, I think, they won, they're certainly without defeat. So a marvellous performance, and to come so tantalisingly close to it, great credit, but as I say, very, very painful as well. Just, you mentioned the fans there as well, the fan experience there, James, and fair play to the Celtic support that went out there, because you could absolutely hear them throughout the game, just the usual wonderful Celtic away support in Europe. So well done in not setting off any flares to celebrate being there as well, guys, and getting away with it for UEFA. So fair play as well with that. Alan, James had mentioned AJ as a potential man of the match. Do you agree there? And was there anybody else that really stood out? Because it was one of those performances that they all really played their part, I felt.
No, I mean, that's an absolutely fair shout. So, first of all, in terms of, so I really enjoyed the game. A shout out to the Greyfriars Irish Community Centre in Nottingham. Great bunch of people. Our subscriber Dave hosted me, so shout out to Dave as well. And I do need, and as well as just acknowledging those fine folk.
We hope you enjoyed this free preview from all of us here at the Huddle Breakdown. We know you have options, and we really appreciate you tuning in. To hear the rest of this episode and for much more Huddle Breakdown content, head on over to www.huddlebreakdown.com. We hope you consider subscribing. Thank you.